Hello Comms 469 students. In this video I'll go over how to write about the rhetorical situation. First we're going to go to our assignment description for the rhetorical analysis. This is the section where it talks about rhetorical situation. So here I talk about where it's placed right after the intro, and that it could be a paragraph or two right under a heading called rhetorical situation. And your main goals here is to make sure that you have covered everything important about the rhetorical situation before you begin your analysis, and you make an argument here about one or two key challenges or constraints. So it could be something that challenges the rhetor or constrains their production of rhetoric, and you consider the situation that they were facing while they were composing and delivering it, and not about the situation after it was received by an audience. This section should be shorter than your analysis. Don't let it take over your whole paper. And what I'm looking for is, can you demonstrate your research and understanding of the situation? Can you see that situation from the rhetor's point of view, not from just a public point of view or a critic's point of view? And it is a difficult section for many students to write because it uses certain types of argument about hypothetically what the rhetor could have been challenged by. And it requires some external research outside of the artifact and reasoning about that situation. So a little different verb tenses and things like that are used. I'm going to be also going to the rhetoric handbook to show you what's there just briefly and before I go into a sample. So here's our rhetoric handbook. Section 6.4 has how to write a rhetorical situation section. So this is also on D2L. It's a file called rhetoric handbook. And this shows you that, of course, it's supposed to help you from not having to go into digressions later during your analysis. Otherwise, sometimes you need to explore the situation within the midst of an analysis. This helps you get over that hump, and then you can just refer back to this section later when you're doing your analysis. It also takes some pressure off of your introduction, because an introduction can't include everything. An introduction only can give you baby steps and very, very rough overviews of rhetorical situation. So we do need some rhetorical situation section info in the intro, but it's just macro. It's very general. Okay, so we've already focused on the time that it looks at. And what you're going to do as you accomplish point 2, which was arguments, okay, about opportunities. And these are some questions that you can consider. Questions about audience, questions about the rhetor, questions about the kairos. And you do have to understand already who the target audience is and who the rhetor is. Otherwise, you can't really imagine things from the rhetor's point of view. So these are important questions that you can use as you write your rhetorical analysis or rhetorical situations section within the analysis. And the important thing about how to make arguments in this section is that it is a hypothetical, could have or would have, and it's thinking about the past. So you're putting yourself in the past situation. So you could make claims about their reputation, support that with autobiographical or biographical material online. You could go and talk about public events or issues or debates. You can get that information from news articles. Audience beliefs or opinions at that time could cite older polls or surveys, not necessarily current ones that after the artifact was published. You could also look at Wikipedia articles to see what could the audience have known at that time, what was common knowledge, that kind of thing. And websites as well as blogs. Okay. You should be citing a source whenever it's helpful to give a source. Even if you know certain facts or you think that your reader should know them, citing them is a courtesy to help your reader find a place that they can go to verify those situational facts. So these are the challenges about writing the section. I often see lists of facts about the context. Please don't just pile together in an unorganized pile all of the information that you have collected while you've done your research on the situation. Not every fact is that important. Not every fact is important to making an argument. And so it needs to be relevant to your whole essay and your thesis in some way. It should be supporting your thesis in your intro. And you should make sure that everything you say has some commentary on it. So if you stack together 3 little pieces of fact within a paragraph, where are you going to comment on them? There won't be room. So you need to be able to maybe present topics, present research on a certain aspect of the situation and focus so that you can comment on the importance of those citations and facts that you bring in. Another thing I often see is that your analysis of the rhetorical situation could merge into an artifact analysis. So here you need to be able to distinguish context from content. The context or situation is outside of the artifact that you're analyzing. It's the social situation. It's like the weather, as I said in class. But the content contains the strategies. That's what you're going to talk about later in your paper. So I'm asking you as my students to use these training wheels to distinguish what is situational and what is not, what's within the artifact and it's part of its content. So I'm going to ask you to avoid making summary, paraphrase, or quotations from the artifact. Now I know that you can get clues about audience and about the situation from inside the artifact itself. I know that's a fact. However, for this situation section, it can often bring you off track. I don't want you to then say, oh, therefore, when they said this in their artifact, they reacted to the situation in this way. So that's going on to the argument in a way that I don't want you to yet do as you're using this training wheels, okay? So it can cause problems if you are quoting the artifact. Also, don't let this take over your essay. I find sometimes people think that they're just doing a research paper and just, you know, finding out about the situation. Your analysis is not just a situation analysis. I want you to analyze stuff within the artifact as well, and therefore this has to be short. So it doesn't take over. So what I'm going to do now is look at a sample I've posted in D2L under, I believe it's some resources area in D2L content. A sample thesis written by an MA student of mine, former MA, and I'm just going to go there. This is the first page of the thesis. There's the reference for you. It was a study of the Romneys, both Mitt Romney and his wife Anne, and the Obamas, both Barack Obama and Michelle Obama. They gave speeches, so there's 4 speeches, during the 2012 National Convention in the United States. That's the artifact she was analyzing. I'm going to go to the table of contents to find where she's done her analysis section. I'm just going to scroll down. Here we go. After the theory, after the method. Okay, so within a thesis, we decided to stick it here because she is analyzing the situation. But she's separated the rhetorical situation section from her analysis of the content that starts at 5.3. As you can see, she's going to talk about in this longer thesis, look, it's already page 74, right? It's a very long thesis, so she's chosen 3 aspects of the situation that she's going to analyze and argue about here. Of course, for a much shorter paper, you're just going to focus on 1 or 2 central, maybe only 1 piece of the situation. but I want to show you how she argues, okay? So I'm going to click there, take you to that section. And so I don't want you to be stacking headings, right? So don't follow that as a good example. Under this first heading, 5.2, she should have said at least one line to introduce what 5.2.1 and 5.2.2 were about. So she should have at least written a sentence saying, one's going to talk about the American economy, and then I'm going to talk about blah, blah, right? So try to avoid that as an example of heading stacking. Don't do that. All you need is the rhetorical situation section heading. And right away she's starting with the situation of the economy. So we've got situation data followed by a general statement about her claim is that it was a tumultuous time. So she's placing the artifact, the campaign, those speeches within its context. Okay. And we've got Gallup being cited. And notice that she cited paragraph 1 even though she's not quoting them. So it's something that we wouldn't normally do. We don't need a paragraph number if there's no quote. So she's citing some facts from Gallup at that time about the economy in 2012, even though she's writing this thesis in 2015 and 16. She's got the report, the Gallup report, more details from it. So this is on the same topic, just going into further depth. And then she caps it off with a therefore statement. So you can see that this paragraph has a claim at the beginning and an analysis at the end. And in the middle was data from outside of her, the speeches by Obama and them, okay? So here, her analysis is therefore the economy and making strong appeals to people of middle or lower socioeconomic status were of critical importance for both the Romney and Obama campaigns. So she's bringing it back using past tense and showing how it presented a context for her artifacts. Her artifacts are part of the Romney and Obama campaigns during that election season. So I'm going to skip to another paragraph because this one is not the greatest sample because it organizes the argument in an alternative way. So I'm going to skip over that paragraph. So here, this is part of the situation is that critics were taking aim at his persona. Then we have some data, and this is a longer argument, so she's not quite finished at this point. She would normally end not with a quotation, but with a comment. But you can see that her analysis begins here. This perceived ethos of, okay, so she's got to work harder to join these two paragraphs as an argument, as a single argument, by creating a really strong transition. So I would recommend for your paper to just continue the paragraph there, but you can see it goes on for a while, and that's why she's broken the paragraph up. Okay, so she's not using exactly the training wheels of claim data analysis, but this is the analysis that follows that data that she's presenting. Okay. And so the perceived ethos of elitism, wealth, and perfection caused Mitt Romney to struggle. And you can see here, this is important to making a challenge argument. This is putting yourself in the rhetor's point of view, in this case, Mitt Romney's perspective, that he's struggling to relate to middle-income Americans during his campaign. And we have proof that he was struggling to do this. People were making fun of his idea to be relatable. And people were critiquing his wealth. And here she does the great commentary as well at the end of this paragraph, not just ending with citation by Sepulveda and Welsh, Now she provides her own voice at the end of the paragraph. These contextual factors place the Romneys in a position that would have been difficult for many Americans to relate to. Consequently, Mitt and Anne Romney's speeches would present, notice the verb tense, that you're not yet talking about the content, and it would present for them an opportunity to identify with average American voters. So we've got a constraint, and we also have a potential opportunity discussed by this writer. So you can see it's quite insightful, and this kind of an insight would have to arrive from considering the data that she presented, and she'd have to really be careful that she's got only the necessary data in here, not too many quotations, but just enough and just the right kind in order to support her claim and her analysis. So here you have, that's a really good example of how to argue and how to use a claim data analysis structure. And I hope that that provides some insight for you and some good examples. You can see the rest of her rhetorical situation section online in D2L. Talk to you later.